Hey, y'all.
Welcome back to Y'all Hearing This. My name is Kay. Thank you so much for coming back and joining us.
Yes, and my name is Honeybee, or you can call me B. Whichever you choose is all right with me.
That's right.
And you know what this is? It's the podcast. Ooh. Oh, you got a woohoo, bitch! I live. Oh, this week's group is so dope.
Yeah. We had so much fun watching all of these different things. So every week we focus on a certain artist or a group.
Mm-hmm.
We do a couple MVs, we do some lives, some dance practices, we watch a guide, and then we talk about it all on the podcast, which is where you're at now. So thank you.
Yes. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah. So this week we did TXT, Tomorrow by Together. They're just... Their vibe, you were talking about vibes when we were doing the guide, and their vibe is just so much fun. I just always have, like, whenever I see them or videos of them or anything, I always like have a smile on my face, you know what I mean? So it was cool to see more, for sure.
Yeah, I definitely felt like because we listened to some of their tracks, and I just feel like, just off of hearing them at first, I was like, oh, this is dope. Like, they're fresh. Like, this, and I feel like I might have said this before. I feel like there's something very fresh about them.
Yeah.
And there's something that's very, it makes you, it like lights a fire in you. Like, their energy, it's like one of those groups where their energies are just so contagious.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Yeah, so it was just like, but the vibe that they gave off, it was very like California sun, like very, very like Hermosa Beach, like, you know what I mean? Like that very like islandy, vibey surfer vibe. Like I just felt at ease, but energized at the same time. It was the weirdest thing.
Yeah. I like that they were very like, because I think this guide is probably a couple years old now, because they all looked pretty young still. Not that they aren't still really young,
right.
But younger than they are now. Because their newest album, I know you haven't listened to a lot of it, but I do. It's like a little bit more grown up. It's a little bit more adult. Like Taeyeon, the one with the Aegyo and stuff like that. He is like bare chested in the video, and so, when we watch Sugar Rush Ride and stuff. So it's a little more like, okay, because their beginning stuff, it was very teenagery, and that was like the skateboarding and stuff like that. So it's cool to see their evolution. You know what I mean?
That's a perfect way to say it.
Because it still has that cool energy to it. Like a lot of the tracks I found on Temptation has a bit of like a like Tinnitus, especially. I had you listen to it. To very like almost like a Caribbean kind of sound or something like that. You know what I mean? Which I love. But anyway, it was just cool to see, like where they started and kind of where they're at now. And to see that evolution and to see them, really grow, which is really cool.
I was about to ask you, like, I always find it, and I don't know have you ever thought about when it comes to just like your favorite groups and artists and stuff like that? Now that I'm older, I didn't maybe pay attention to it when I was younger, but watching the evolution of a group that started out younger or just have younger members and to like watch them grow up, it's like you always wonder, just from like a fan perspective and like listening to the music, like how are they going to mature? Like how are they going to do it gracefully without so for instance, I think of the perfect example. I think of Christina Aguilera because Christina Aguilera came out in 1999 and was all like poppy and was like kind of covered up, but would show like a little like lower belly. She was 19, 20 years old. Yeah. And then a couple of years later, she's
Xtina.
And Here Comes Stripped, which is considered one of her greatest albums to date. And like, it was just a jump from being like completely covered up to she was wearing like assless chaps. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like some people think that was too drastic.
Oh, I love it.
But I loved it.
I love it because she was claiming like her
body, her everything.
Exactly. I love it. And I love now that she does. I see her a lot in like kind of almost like 40s-ish style.
Yes.
You know, like
Yes.
pinup girl kind of stuff. And I
Which
love that on her too.
That was from her 2006 album, Back to the Basics.
Mm-hmm.
That whole album was all about taking old jazz standards and stuff like that and mixing them with hip hop and making them modern and stuff. But that whole era was like that. It was everything was like very like Madonna's like blue 40s, album, all of that. Yeah. But anyways, that's what I thought with TXT. I was like, you know, I'm wondering how it's always like so interesting to see how they're going to transition into that maturity. And it sounds like they're doing a really good job about it. Because I haven't fully listened to the album yet.
And it's tough too. Well, tough, but also good because, you know, as your fans grow with you, you know what I mean? They're also getting older, especially if they, you know, you had younger fans to start with and whatnot. But I think their sound still, it's not like super aggressive or anything like that. So it's not like a 180, but it's cool to just see like, where they're going. Yeah. You know?
Just like their clothing choices, their album packaging, the way they present themselves. And then of course the sounds and everything. Yeah. That's dope.
Yeah, it's really cool to see them just like, you know, be a little bit more mature in line with their age. Yes. You know? Yes. So it's just really cool to see.
Yes.
And I know we were talking about this, but it was cool to see like Yeonjun have his moment as the artist of the month and stuff like that. He did such a great job with that.
Yeah, he killed that.
Yeah.
That was dope.
He's such a good dancer. So last year, I think it was the KBS Song Fest or something like that. He came out and it was kind of like all the viral dances from the videos for that year. So he came out and did like a little thing. But he did like guy groups and girl groups and he like killed it. It was so good.
I live for that.
Yeah.
That's so dope.
Yeah.
I think it's so dope too for group members like to pay homage to other groups.
Yeah.
Like especially like with the idea of like doing covers and stuff like that, like I think that's so dope. So to have somebody just show that love and they're from a group, like I can just.
So they're pretty close to BTS.
Yeah.
So
that was the other thing I really liked about the guide.
So
that was so dope.
So Yoongi, Auguste Suga, he has this show called Suchuta, which is just basically him getting drunk with someone, like having a talk.
No way!
So he had Yeonjun and Taeyeon on not too long ago, and Yeonjun passed out. He got so drunk he passed out. It was the funniest thing. But they are like close, like, and they were talking.
I would have fell out. I would have been like, help him, Jesus.
It was
help him, Lord.
Because you could tell he was like, I really love BTS. You guys are awesome. You know, kind of like that level of like drunk.
It sounds like, oh my God, what is that?
Like it's the first
Drinking
time he ever got drunk kind of thing.
Yes! It sounds like that. I think it's called Drinking Champs with Noriega.
So cute.
Oh
and
my
he
God.
just was, they were talking a lot about how, and Yoongi was just like smiling at him like, you are adorable. I think he even said that at one point, like, you're so cute. And they were just talking about how BTS really looked out for them.
Yeah.
Because BTS for a long time, I think, was the only group under Hive for a very long time. And I think TXT was kind of one of the first, if not the first, other group to come out.
Wow.
And so they really kind of took them under their wing and, you know, kind of just helped them through like industry stuff, you know, having dealt with all that too. I mean, Jungkook was 15 when he, you know, they debuted. So I think it's cool that they had those Sundays to like,
yeah, like that, like the almost like they're idols. You know what I mean? It's like,
and I mean, Taeyeon like loves Jungkook so much. He saw him like turn on. It was so cute. Oh, he's adorable.
He was like, pitch me.
Yeah. Well, that was.
Oh wait, no, I'm thinking of. Yeah, I was thinking of.
Came in from Shiny.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of him.
But it was that same.
Like that same love.
Section.
That same,
yeah.
But that same love and like that admiration is so dope, and it's so dope to see like, and we've said this, and I know you've said this a lot. Like the thing that. Like Kay always says, the thing that she loves all the time is like showing somebody something that she loves and having them love it just as much. And I think there is something so special. And I think that's what it is. I love when group members who are in a group and understand the dynamics of being in a group to admire another group and see what they're going through. And never mind to have it, I mean, BTS. Right. And then have them also mentor you, kind of. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, that is so, like, it gives me that same feeling. Like, I'm like, yes. That's how I used to feel when people would, like, girl groups will talk about Destiny's Child and then talk to them. Or, you know what I mean? It's It's such a good feeling.
I know.
Yeah,
That happened
so
recently. I can't remember if we talked about this or not, but because we did watch Psychers, their debut, the one the ATs is like juniors.
Oh yeah.
And like Hong Jun helped produce, and like
See,
there's this one dance
I
practice
love
where they
that.
were doing like like different things, like they had to do it super slow or they had to do it super fast or whatever.
Mhm.
And San was watching them the whole time and was like, "Oh, you guys are gonna be great." Blah blah blah. It was so cute to see. I was like, "Oh, my son."
See, I love that.
Yeah,
It's like
exactly.
that support.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah, it's like they know what it's like to go through it, and for them to take that time and
yeah.
it's just
It's like
so
nurturing them
yeah,
and
exactly.
everything.
But
That's so
I
dope.
really just I just like their dynamic together too. They're very fun. You could tell they all had like their roles,
Mhm.
Yeonjun being baby girl / done with everything.
Like
And Subin like being he's the leader. I
Mhm.
think it's super funny. I was watching one clip because he's the only introvert and everyone else is extrovert, where Subin's just kind of like sitting in the corner and the rest are running around like madmen. And I think it was during that whole Frozen thing.
Yes.
And he's just like watching them like and they're just like
That literally
like that's their dynamic and I love it.
that was like that Frozen scene.
Yeah.
It was like that like move they kept doing.
They got a blanket as a cape, and then they were throwing the balls and whatever.
And then when they do to take the crowd off and like I'm sorry, it was that dance move that just took me out. I was like, oh my
god! She did
god!
Olaf here, didn't she? He was doing the Olaf. Oh my goodness, I just love them.
They are hilarious.
You want
and
to take them all and like put them in your pocket,
like Polly Pocket.
Exactly. Just like, and you go here, and you go here, even though you're all taller than I am.
Oh my god. That'd be like sticking one of those old school really long pencils in your pocket.
Exactly. Like, you're adorable.
Oh my god. They reminded me of a certain group.
Yeah.
And I mean, is this a good segue?
Sure.
Okay, we're gonna segue into B's Nectar of the Week.
Okay, yeah.
So,
well, first of all, tell them what B's Nectar of the Week
that's what we're
is.
gonna. So, B's Nectar of the Week is basically me giving you guys examples or speaking of a group or an artist that maybe is outside of the K-pop world that reminds me or gives me the same energy, same vibes or whatever of the artist that we are featuring for the week. So
and I want to guess when you're
and that's so I feel like that's become a thing. So I feel like I'm gonna let you guess.
Okay. My first guess, just off the top of my head, New Kids on the Block.
Okay, why would you pick them?
Because I feel like they had the same kind of like energy, like very like very teenagery almost at first, but like that summery kind of vibe almost. Like great dancers, like very like I don't know. That they give me the same vibe for sure.
Who else would you?
I don't know. I'm trying to think of boy groups because we've already done the big ones. So I don't know.
It's like dun 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 dun.
Yeah. Who'd you pick?
So
I
picked.
Did you know?
New Kids on the Block.
I knew it. They give that same energy. They give that same vibe.
Now here's the funny thing about New Kids on the Block for me. Okay. New Kids on the Block was not part of my... I started getting into boy bands not until like around 97. I don't know if we've ever talked about this, but for me, just for y'all, my little music history, for years, this might be a really good say what.
Okay.
So you know what? Maybe I'm gonna save it.
Okay.
I might save it, yeah.
Okay.
But basically, my intro into guy groups was right off the bat, Boyz II Men was the first one that I really remember hearing. But my first time investing in a guy group was like Backstreet Boys and NSYNC. So I feel like I kind of missed the era of New Kids on the Block.
Well, you were a little young because I was probably like 10-ish or so when they were pretty big. So it was I was almost a little too young, but like a good age. Yeah, like all of my friends and I each had our own favorite.
Yeah.
You know, I had John.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah. right. I'm here for it. Come on, John. But yeah, so I missed the original like surgence of New Kids on the Block, but their resurgence later on, which I'll get into, is when I got into them. And I was like, okay, wait a minute, because I also liked some of the group members' solo stuff. But
step by step,
yeah, you better know.
Baby.
All right, so here is the whole shebang bang. So New Kids on the Block, was formed in 1984 and like debuted and came out same time period, and then they broke up in 1995 and then got back together in 2008 and are still together now. So New Kids on the Block are an American boy band from Boston, Massachusetts, consisting of Jordan and Jonathan Knight, Joey McIntyre, Donnie Wahlberg, and Danny Wood, as well as previously they originally actually had two other members.
Oh, really?
One of them being Mark Wahlberg and Jamie Kelly.
Gotcha.
So they were the formation of the group was by Maurice Starr, who decided to form a band called Nyunk or Neunk as a white equivalent to the band New Edition, because Maurice created New Edition.
Gotcha.
When that whole thing happened, he basically wanted to create another New Edition. Auditions were held in Boston, with Donnie Wahlberg becoming the first person to get into the band, and then bringing his brother Mark Wahlberg and his friends Danny Wood and Jordan Knight. Mark Wahlberg left the group after a short amount of time to be replaced by Jamie Kelly. However, Kelly was kicked out in favor for Joey McIntyre.
Gotcha.
Joey
was so cute.
I know, right? Starr continued to act as their manager as the band were signed to Columbia Records, changing their name to New Kids on the Block. And taking their name from one of the songs from their debut album.
Oh, okay. I thought they wrote that after they had their name. Gotcha. Didn't know that.
I've never heard the song either, so.
Oh, yeah. It's like a whole little, if I'm remembering correctly, I think it's like a whole little introduction to them.
In 1986, New Kids on the Block released their self-titled debut studio album to poor reviews and little success.
Yeah.
And then the band chose to release Please Don't Go Girl, which initially saw little success until it was played on a Florida radio station and shot up the charts to number 10. Right? And then... Oh
my God, it is like nostalgia. So much nostalgia. I love it.
So on September 6th, 1988, they released their second album, Hangin' Tough. To better reviews and chart success, topping the Billboard's... the Billboard Top 200 albums chart. The following year, on the 19th, in 1989, they released a Christmas album entitled Merry Merry Christmas, which, if you look at some of our vintage episodes, you might hear us talk about it.
Moving on.
Right. So the album received moderate reviews and reached the 9th spot on Billboard's 200 list. The band released their third studio album, Step by Step, on June 5th, 1990, with mixed to poor reviews. And yet, again, it topped the Billboard's 200 list, and that album sold almost 20 million copies alone.
Yeah, it was the type of music that was just good vibes only. Like, there was no seriousness to it. Like, you listened to it when you were dancing. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know.
It was just, it was your typical pop group.
Yeah,
like, you just.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
It was like, I call movies that are kind of like that popcorn movies where you're just like eating popcorn. They're popcorn pop.
Yes.
Popcorn pop.
Yeah. Come on, pop. This led to Forbes listing the band members as the highest paid entertainers of 1991, beating Madonna and Michael Jackson.
Wow.
In 1993, the band and their manager, Maurice Starr, split, and they released their fourth studio album, Face the Music, on the 25th of January in 1994. While it received moderate reviews, it only reached number 37 on the Billboard 200. The failure led Jordan Knight choosing to leave the band.
Gotcha.
And then the New Kids on the Block split up in 1995. In the following years, all of the group members had their own solo successors, whether it was in entertainment or in their personal lives. Jordan Knight released his debut album, which had that song "Give It to You." I used to play that song out. And then Joey McIntyre released a solo album with his hit song being "Stay the Same," which I don't know if you remember them. Oh my God, "Stay the Same." If you heard it, you would know. But it was a huge thing. It was all over TRL. Both of them were actually going back and forth on TRL at one point, like with releasing songs. So it was always interesting to kind of watch that. Like, that's my first foray into New Kids on the Block, was when those solo songs came out.
It's so funny because we had such different, like, so I listened to New Kids like when I was younger.
Right.
But then when I got to that, I think I was like too old for it. Do you know what I mean? So like I like blocked out those years.
Right,
You know what I
right,
mean? Well,
right.
not blocked out, but like I don't think
You just kind of was like, no.
Exactly.
I've evolved.
Yeah.
You're there, and I noticed you, and I acknowledge you, but we're over here now.
Like super fun and everything.
Right.
Yeah, I just like I never really watched TRL or anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
oh my God, I was all about it.
Sometimes for sure, but like yeah.
So it said in 2008, the band revealed that they were planning a reunion and would have an album and a tour to celebrate.
Nice.
The album, entitled The Block, received tremendously mixed reviews ranging from brilliant to poor, and it became their second to top the Billboard's 200 list. In 2012, the band was nominated for a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, which they ended up receiving, before releasing their sixth studio album, 10. Which received positive reviews and reached number 6 on Billboard's 200 list. They also had a huge thing with New Kids on the Block because they did a joint tour with the Backstreet Boys and became a supergroup, which was one of the first times in our country there was ever a big supergroup, which is interesting because I feel like in K-pop music there's so many. It happens all the time, so it doesn't really happen at least in the US. So they created this huge supergroup.
But there's things like the Traveling Wilburys. Have you ever heard of them?
No.
So it's Ray Orbison, Pretty Woman and whatnot.
Yeah.
George Harrison from the Beatles.
No way.
Bob Dylan. Tom Petty.
Okay, this is weird because that happened again, in the last couple of years, and it was like the lead singer, I can't remember his name, from the Rolling Stones.
Mick Jagger.
Thank you, Mick Jagger, and it was like Mick Jagger, and it was like will.i.am, and then it was like Joss Stone. Yeah. Like it was just a random group. Yeah. So that's funny that I've never heard of them.
Yeah, so Traveling Wilburys, they put out at least one album. I used to listen to it all the time when I was growing up.
No way. Yeah, that's so dope. I think it came out
in like the 80s-ish. I think in the 80s, yeah.
See, I love stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh, I love stuff like that. But yeah, they and they're still touring today.
That's awesome.
New Kids on the Block still touring today. But that performance was a big deal because they ended up doing this huge performance on the Billboard. I think it was Billboard or American Music Awards, one of them. And it just made history. It was crazy. So, cool. But yeah, so my pick with B's Nectar of the Week is New Kids on the Block.
I'm so happy I picked.
Yeah, you knew, girl. See?
Well, they give me the same vibes. They give me the same vibes for sure. Like I was even thinking earlier, I'm like, I wonder who's gonna pick. I'm like, I wonder if it's New Kids.
Right. No, seriously. I was just kind of like, so good.
You know what's funny? A good friend of mine, oh God, this was years ago. She used to have a videotape. I think it was of a Hanging Tough concert or something like that. When that album came out, and we used to watch it. Oh God, even when we were the 30s, you know what I mean?
I love the fact that I used to. I just love that you watch it.
VHS.
Listen, I still have my Backstreet Boys VHS concert. I used to collect them. This is actually okay. So this is a segue. Into the say what section. So I was going to say earlier, when I started talking about my musical history or whatever, I did not, when I first got introduced to music, and this is my question is, and I was really sitting here thinking, because I don't think, we might have talked about it, but kind of getting more in depth. Do you remember the first time you listened to music and it was your choice, and and not because you had to listen because family members were listening or somebody else was listening. Like, not saying that you didn't like that, but like, do you remember that distinct moment where you finally like was like, oh, this is music, and now I'm going to choose what I want to listen to?
Yep. It was when I had moved to Rhode Island and I first started listening to BRU.
Yes.
And I heard Portishead, and I heard, you know, like Radiohead, and I heard, you know what I mean? Like Tricky, I heard, you know, Massive Attack, I heard, you know what I mean? Like, and it was my music.
Did you find it hard to like come out of like listening just to them?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, even to this day, it's so funny because I truly listen to almost all the time K-pop, but you know, just because I love it so much and like I'm so passionate about it right now, you know, and there's so much new all the time,
right? And there's so much to learn.
Yeah. Yeah, but I love that.
Yes.
But yeah, for a very long time, it's so funny. I have read somewhere that around that age, around that 13, 14, 15 age, when you start listening to your own music and kind of figuring out your own taste and stuff like that, that's kind of the music that you usually stick with, you know? So, and it's something that usually follows you through because that's when, like you were saying, you really figure out your own personal...
You find your vibes.
Exactly. And I still, to this day, my God, Portishead Dummy, I bought that CD. First time I bought it at Lechmere. You know where the Target is now on Route 2?
Oh my, so I never have been to Lechmere. I was an Islander. So we didn't have Lechmere. We had Kmart and we had Ames.
Yep.
But I've heard of...
Now we're going into like...
Right. We're going into Rhode Island. So, but I'm sure they was like... But I've never heard of Lechmere.
Really?
Like, I've heard the name, but I didn't know what it was.
No, she did!
No, I swear I never knew what it was.
Kind of like a Target.
Okay. Target. No, I say Target too. We bougie over here, girl.
Exactly. It was kind of like that. You know what I mean?
Dope.
So, yep. But I had heard Sour Times on the radio.
Yep.
Loved it. Went, got the CD.
Yep.
Played that out.
Yep.
That's probably the album I've listened to the most. It's such a great like bath time album. It's such a great Other Times album.
Yes. Well, ain't nothing wrong with being grown and sexy.
That's right.
I will say for me, like, and going back to, because it made me think of New Kids on the Block, like when I was saying I wasn't a part of their original, because I distinctly remember the first thing I ever listened to, and I've talked about this before, was Mariah Carey. And I just stuck on Mariah Carey for years. And then I branched off into the vocal trinity, as we would say, and millennials would say, would be Celine Dion, Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey. That's all I would listen to. # grown up gay. So then, but then the first group I came out of, right, for real, okay. And then I came out of that, and the first group I got into was Destiny's Child when they first came out. But the first guy group I got into, like, where I actually was like hardcore, like starting to get them, and it was around the same time that Britney Spears' Baby One More Time came out, all that stuff, was the Backstreet Boys. Yeah. So like, and I remember for years, people used to compare New Kids on the Block and Backstreet Boys. Yeah. So I always was like, no, Backstreet Boys, like, who's New Kids on the Block? But so when they came out in 2008, I was like, we came back together. Right. I was like, oh, now I see why people were going crazy for them. Yep. Because I was like that same vibe. Like, people were losing it. I forgot what award show they came back on, and they performed a little medley of their original hits, and then they played their new singles. Like, they had that song Single with Neo. Oh my God, it was so good. And they had all these songs.
I'm sorry. We'll go back to one second. I'm sorry.
No, do it.
My roommate has this thing he calls bubble years. So like there were just years where like his parents didn't allow him to watch movies and TV and stuff like that. So anytime he like missed something, he's like, oh, bubble year. So I feel kind of like that. I feel kind of like I'm in my own personal bubble years for like pop groups in like the late 2000s.
Yes, because that's listen, I get it because then, but it's so interesting that you made that comment about around that age when you start listening. That's usually what you'll listen to, because that's so true. Because granted, I grew up around R&B and gospel music and stuff. My parents didn't really listen to pop like at all. So like when I was around that age, like. I literally was all about R&B and soul and all that. And honestly, that age is when I got into pop and rock and all these other genres. Yeah. And I was like, oh, shit. And it's so true. Much more
out there. Like, I love classic rock.
Yes.
I grew up listening to it, and it'll always be.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Throw me a Phil Collins any day. Give me some yacht music, okay?
That's not classic rock.
I know. That was the whole joke. That was the whole joke. Okay, that's why I was like, because people think that. No, that was.
Sorry. Over my head. Wow. I was like, Phil Collins.
Wait, but you said she was ready to fight me?
I like Phil Collins and all, but not classic rock. Someone said to me the other day something about how they like classic rock, and they were talking about like hair bands. I'm like, no. I'm not that old. It's not classic rock yet. I refuse. Or they were talking about like Duran Duran or something.
Oh.
No, they're not classic rock. They're 80s.
That's like me saying Toto.
Well, that's at least 70s-ish. So it's a little more classic. But yeah, no. No.
But anyways, go ahead.
I don't even. Oh, yeah.
Classic rock.
Sorry. You got me fighting now. I'm like,
she trying to whoop my ass on camera, y'all. I swear I would have called BLM. Oh, they would have been up in here.
Oh, God.
I'm dead.
Oh, God.
I'm dead.
Oh,
I'm dead.
So I grew up listening to classic rock, and I love it, and I still listen to it this day. But yeah,
the bubble years.
I grew to love kind of that, like 90s alternative is kind of my jam.
Yes.
Especially 90s alternative girls. Like,
yes.
Jam.
I will say this is really interesting. I know it'll be like I get so in depth with stuff like this, but that's interesting that you say that because when I think of you, I instantly think of 90s like alternative rock. Like I think of like the group's Garbage. I think of Hole. I think of Alanis Morissette. I think of Liz Phair. Mm-hmm. I think of like all of these like, but I also think of Joan Jett. I also think of Pat Benatar. Like I think of, but you know what I mean? And it's funny because now it made me just think like, oh, I wonder what people think. Like when they think of me, like what artist do they automatically go to?
Beyonce.
9 out of 10 it's Beyonce. Listen, 9 out of 10 times it's Beyonce or Mariah Carey. That's all I hear is like Mariah or Beyonce. Mariah or Beyonce.
No, but Toni Braxton too a lot.
Yes.
But
that's interesting how you can literally like you can name somebody's vibes.
Yeah.
Just by knowing them.
And
you know what I mean?
think too, because we used to do karaoke together and stuff like that, we kind of know like what our vibes are anyway. Because of course you pick, you know.
Yeah, you pick what you know, what you know.
And what your voice can do. I wish I could do Joan Jett. I can't do Joan Jett. I can't.
I wish I could do. Listen, as low as Tony is, I wish I could do Tony. Tony, okay.
Yeah.
I wish I could do Beyonce.
But you do Beyonce.
But can you imagine, like, really note for note doing Beyonce?
Yeah. I can't do Beyonce either.
Listen.
For sure. Beyonce can do Beyonce.
Right.
We'll let her keep doing Beyonce and we'll do our own thing.
I know that's right. Beyonce, you gonna go ahead and do Beyonce. We want to see you do Beyonce.
Yes.
Just, them ticket prices.
I know.
But like...
Yeah. I know.
But, I think that this episode is really like just all about vibes. Like finding your vibe. You know what I mean? If there's anything you could take away from this week's podcast and this week's just artists that we're featuring TXT, it's just new vibes and just think of vibes. And I definitely feel like they were giving the vibes hardcore clearly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It was so much fun getting to know them a little bit better, and I can't wait to watch more for sure.
Yes, and make sure you give us some suggestions.
Yes, absolutely. We want all the suggestions, all the things. We're definitely gonna check out more.
And tell us what your vibe vibes are.
Yeah.
Like, what was some of the first music you listened to? Or
Ooh, yeah.
like how Kay was saying, like, what is it that you listened to at that development age around, 12, let's say 12 to 14?
Yeah.
And does it still ring true to you? Like, what you started to discover and really hone into during that time period, do you still listen to it now?
Yeah.
That'd be really interesting.
Kind of your favorite?
Yeah, because I promise you, I never thought of it until you said that. Like, it was almost like an epiphany moment.
I had read it somewhere or something, an article about it, or just like your brains are forming at a certain point in that time, and that's when you're becoming a little bit more independent, and kind of coming up with your own stuff. So anyway, it's super cool. I do too.
Love it.
I do too. Well, thank you guys as always for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, we hope you had such a great time because we really did.
Yeah, clearly.
As always.
Yes, truly. Right. Honestly.
But we love you guys so much. Thank you for all of your support. We'll see you soon.